G'day guys, how's it going? As you can see, we're doing something a bit different today. Um, Hopefully new and exciting. We'll see how this goes. It's first time I've touched this, so we've only gotten the equipment this week to try and pull this off. So um, as you can see, my buddy's not here with me this week. He's currently laid up in a hospital bed. Had some issues there a couple of days ago. Hopefully, hopefully everything's all good. At this point, I don't really know what's going on. So just know he's going to be in overnight again. So thoughts with Davo. Um, let's go over the week 4 action. Um, Another bunch of close games again. Um, the it's a weekly occurrence. So the game of the week that MFL picked, the Dolphins and Eagles. We were looking at about a 12-point deficit. Um, Poor old Jared's still trying to find some semblance of production from Joe Burrow. Um, if the nickname's anything to go by, we could be about to start seeing that. Bye weeks kick in this week, boys, and I'll go over that shortly. But yeah, look, both teams scored in that 380 to 390 area. I thought it was a bit more of a low scoring week this week as opposed to what we've been seeing. I don't really know why that was the case, to be honest. So there were still some huge scores. The highest score we may ever see, which unfortunately for that certain owner wasn't on a starting lineup. So bad luck there. Good win for Robbie. Gets him back to, I believe, 3-5 on the season. Sort of keeping pace in that division with everyone else except for Jared, unfortunately, who's sitting there at 1-7. Spirit sort of got a bit of a break on top. I think he's about 6-2, but Robbie's defense is helping him win a few games here at the moment. But his offense actually was very productive last week. Come up with a very smart trade for Derrick Henry. Certainly outperformed the person he was traded for in Amari Cooper. There's only about a 33-point break between the two of them this week. So, yeah, and that was enough to swing the matchup in the end. So you look at that. So you put the two players back on their respective teams that they were beforehand, and there's a win for Jared, and probably would have been enough for him almost to get. I think it would have been enough for him to get the 2 wins. So that would have been very very handy for him. Next game was Buffalo and Providence, the side bet boys. Yeah, it wasn't even close in the end. She's come out just over 100-point win for the brothers. The unbeaten steamrollers. So far, they are steamrolling everything that's been in the way of them. Yeah, not much to say there. Christian McCaffrey's just having an enormous season. Leading the league in rushing. I think he's equal leader in rushing touchdowns. Plus, he's got his receiving abilities as well. Stephon Diggs had a huge game, and so did Bobby Wagner. I think he had over 20 total tackles or so, and a couple of sacks to go with it. So I think everyone on the Seattle defense just about had a sack this week. So Dave was not helped out at all anywhere, to be honest. This was by far probably his worst output of the season. After what he thought was a promising start, I'd say right now it's probably some worrying signs. We'll see how things go. As I said, we all have bad weeks, so maybe he can get a bit of a bounce back. We'll see how things go, I guess. Now we got another blowout. The New Orleans Saints and Canton Bulldogs. Jakey's team isn't going great. He was winning a couple of games earlier in the season up against low-scoring opponents. He was still scoring okay, but not top 5 scorer. Then 2 weeks ago, he was the second highest scorer in the week, pulled a 2-0. But this week, he was lucky to break 300 in the end, which it's already the lowest score second lowest score we've seen for the season. So we'll see how Jakey's team can bounce back here. It was a very disappointing performance. He had a lot of guys in single figures, and that's not going to win you many games in this league, especially when you're pushing basically 400 to try and get a win, and probably pushing in the mid-teens, upwards of 420 to 450 some weeks to try and get the second win. So Spirit's team's been playing pretty well. He's moved to 6-2 on the season. He's got a dangerous team every week. He's probably got the best quarterback combination in the league. I haven't looked it up today to see where they're actually ranked overall, but every week you've got Josh Allen and Tua Tagovailoa out there. He's in every game with that, and he's got a couple of guys on defense that can equally put up enormous scores. So. Said at the start of the season he had a tough team, and it looked like it was going to be a tough team to beat, and I've got no reason to think otherwise at this point. So, next game up, I actually think this was probably the game of the week. Akron Pros up against the Staten Island Stapletons. I'm happy to come out of the game grabbing a top 5 win. Great game, Joey. You pretty much everybody performed for you. You've got 3 guys, I think, by the look of that, maybe 4 guys in single figures, but outside of that, you had some fantastic scoring right across the board. I must admit I couldn't see me getting into getting a win and getting a top 5 score. That falls grossly into the lap of Devon Witherspoon, who just had an enormous game out of the Monday Night Football game. Before that, I couldn't see me pulling that out, to be honest. I had my entire defensive line put up 15 points between them. Between 1, 2, 3, 4 starters. That's generally not going to get it done on most weeks. So obviously I've had some guys go off outside of that to pick up the slack, but yeah, for the most part, I was feeling pretty dejected going into the Monday night game. I didn't think I had much chance at all. So yeah, thanks to Devon Witherspoon, I've managed to grab a win, moved to 500, and onwards and upwards from there. But yeah, great game, Joey, mate. Well-deserved win, mate. Top scorer of the week too. Now we got Matt and Pat, the other podcast that we haven't heard yet. But good news for Matt. He bounces back. Previously, he was sitting at 1-5. He's managed to grab. Is that right? Yeah, he managed to grab a 2-0 for the week and move up to 3-5. Managed to beat Robbie for the last win by What is it? Not even a point. That's how close it was between 5th and 6th this week. Paddy, my God. So to make matters worse, you actually had a guy that was questionable in Aloy Gilman that didn't play, and you've left Khalil Mack on the bench scoring 106 points. 106 points for a single player. It sucks, man. It's I don't. I believe you said in chat last night you hadn't even considered starting him. Maybe if you'd seen that Gilman wasn't going to play, that might have been a different story. I'm not sure who else you were actually considering for the position, but yeah, you've had a couple of enormous scores that you've left on the bench so far this season, and it's stung you so far. Hopefully you can bounce back, mate. But I've got a feeling we're playing against each other this week, so I'm kind of hoping you don't bounce back this week. But Matt, yeah, good win, buddy. Very, very much needed win. Had a good solid week. That 392, it's sort of on the cusp of where you need to get to every week to at least be in the in consideration for a win. So, all right. I'm going to move on to some bye weeks. Here we go, boys. Week 5, the bye weeks have started. Let's hope we've all got rosters that can accommodate them. This week we've got the Browns, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers all on a bye week. That means we're rubbing out some pretty significant fantasy players there. You're going to lose the likes of Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, what do we got? Bloody Austin Eckler, Khalil Mack. Your Cleveland, like your Watsons and so forth from Cleveland, all your Seahawks. It's going to be interesting to see how things go now that this is happening. Injuries were already starting to affect some teams. Can we start to navigate our way through a season now with injuries and bye weeks? And basically, we've got this now up until, I think it misses 1 week. I think it's like week 12 where everyone plays. I could be wrong though. But outside of that, we're doing this right now through till week 14. It's going to be a pretty rocky road for everyone at this point. We'll see how things go. It'll be interesting to see what the results look like after this week's play. What am I going to talk about now? I've got... Where is it? There we are. So, I know myself and Dave were doing like a bit of a talk over like 4 games for the week. I didn't have time to sort of push into 4 games and try and do a bit of an overview of it by myself. So rather than do that, I've decided to go over what I believe is the best game of the week. And I'd say most people would agree. The Dallas Cowboys, the 3-1 Cowboys at the 4-0 49ers. Historically, this has got a lot of a lot of history in this rivalry. All-time series is actually tied at 19-1. You can't get any closer than that. Dallas lead the postseason record at 5-4. For 2 teams that aren't in the same division, they've actually played each other 3 times in the last 3 years, which is not particularly common, just the way they do the schedule now in the NFL. So the most recent one was last season in the playoffs. The 49ers at home against Dallas managed to pull out a 19-12 win in the divisional round. The year before, the 49ers were at Dallas in the wild card round and managed to pull out a 23-17 win. And in 2020, the Cowboys actually managed to win this one in Dallas, 41-33. So you can see there they've all been close games. Which I think this week's will be too. Right now, the 49ers offense is number two rated in the league. On third downs, their third down offense is currently converting 20 out of 43. It's at about 46% completions. And their fourth downs are 2 for 2, so 100% there. Their only turnover of the season so far has been a one lost fumble. Currently, Brock Purdy is the NFL's highest rated passer, just ahead of Tua. And Christian McCaffrey is the leading rusher in the league, as I said just before, and by a bit of a margin so far. I thought a key this week might be Brandon Ayuk. I see he came back well from injury last week, like 6 catches, 140 plus yards, only on 6 targets too, so he caught everything that was thrown his way. If he's fully healthy, and they can incorporate Debo with McCaffrey, it'll go a long way to them winning this game. Their defense is currently number 5 in the league. Their third down efficiency, they're currently allowing 20. They've allowed 23 out of 56 for a 41% completion percentage, and they're only allowing 4 out of 8 on fourth down conversions, which is obviously 50%. Despite a slow start from a player or two, they currently have 9 sacks on the season. They forced 5 interceptions, no fumbles, and opposition offenses are completing at 65.7% completion percentage against them, and have allowed 4 passing touchdowns. I probably would have thought the sack numbers might have been a bit higher, but given that Nick Bosa has nearly been non-existent for the season, that probably has something to do with why the numbers are a bit lower than I would have expected. And currently, their turnover differential is at a +4, which rates them 6th overall in the league. The opponents they've played so far, they were at the Steelers, at the Rams, at home to the Giants and the Cardinals. So they've actually played a couple of matchups that cross over against each other here between the Cowboys and the 49ers. So you can get a little bit of a read on form. But the Cowboys absolutely destroyed the Giants, and the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. And I didn't think the Niners were overly impressive against the Giants. And I didn't think they were that impressive against the Cardinals last week, but they won fairly comfortably. They never looked like they were going to lose. So, whereas the Cowboys were never in the game against the Cardinals. So, I don't know what you can take out of that. But here's a little bit about Dallas. They're currently number 11 in the league in offense, with a 32 out of 62 completion percentage, which is just a tick over 50%, sitting at about 51. That's on their third down efficiency. Their fourth down efficiency, they're only 1 out of 4. McCarthy's been known in the past to be pretty ordinary on fourth down completion percentage, and 1 out of 4 is not a good way to start. They, like the Niners, only have 1 turnover. It was an interception by Dak. Their offense, I think, so far this season has been solid, but it's I don't think it's really clicked yet. The Tony Pollard's probably gotten a few more touches this year than what he was getting last year, but it hasn't necessarily turned into more production for him. If anything, he's just become less efficient, putting out similar sort of numbers. CeeDee Lamb, he's going to be huge in this matchup. He's the one that has a chance to create issues for San Francisco on defense. It should be a good matchup anyway. So, defensively, the Cowboys are the number 2 defense in the league so far. Third down efficiency, they've been fantastic. Teams have only completed 15 out of 49 for a tick over 30% completion percentage against them. Efficiency against them, and 4 out of 8 on fourth downs for 50% complete efficiency. Now, what the Cowboys obviously do well is get sacks, turn the ball over. They are a big play defense. They've currently got 14 sacks on the season, which I think has them about 2 sacks off the pace. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of teams sitting there on about 16 sacks for the year. 7 interceptions. They forced 3 they've recovered 3 fumbles and scored 3 defensive touchdowns so far on the season. 57.4% completion percentage against them, and they've only allowed 2 touchdown passes. So they've been going strong. Deron Bland, I believe, has stepped into where Trevon Diggs was, and played well. He got 2 picks last week. Returned one of those for a touchdown. And currently the Cowboys lead the NFL with a turnover differential of +9. I think the key for this one for the Cowboys is Micah Parsons. He looked like he might have injured both his knee and possibly ankle last week. Everything I've read so far kind of leads to him being fine, playing, no problems. They can't afford him not to be near 100% in this game. They need him firing on all cylinders. He just makes everyone else on that defense so much better. You take him away, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. My little summary on the game. I had a bit of a look just at one part of the betting. I reckon this is going to be a really low scoring game. I can't see big points at all, which probably means it'll go the over. But if I was betting on the game, I'd be taking the under, which is sitting at 45 points at $1.90. So it's equal odds there currently on the betting. I'd be all over that under 45. And the last 3, they've all been close. There's basically been a touchdown in all 3 games they've played against each other in the last couple of years, which for this type of matchup, that's about as far back as you'd even want to look historically. Everything else before that means nothing. I just think I trust the 49ers to execute plays at crucial moments, whereas I'm probably not quite as confident that the Cowboys can do the same. They've historically shown over the last just during Dak's period as the starting quarterback, they've generally found a way to lose big games. So if I had to lean anyway, I'd lean to the 49ers, and I'm saying about a 20-13 score. See how things go, but that's my thoughts on that game. Now I might have a quick little touch on the games this week, and being that my that's what I've got to do. I forgot. I got my my partner in crime's bet for the week. He's decided to go for a 7-leg multi. Looks like it's all Yeah, it's all just head-to-head match-winning bet. So he's taken the Texans to beat the Falcons, the Bills to beat the Jaguars, the Ravens to beat the Steelers, the Bengals to beat the Cardinals, the Eagles to beat the Rams, the Lions to beat the Panthers, and the Colts to beat the Titans. And he's power played that up from 22.69 to 27.76 for a $10 outlay. So good luck to him on that one. See how it goes. Like most of them, probably lose. They generally do. All right. Week 5. It's a bit harder to have a bit of an overview of teams here because there's a lot of teams with a lot of players sitting on buys currently sitting in their lineups. But I can get a bit of an idea of what players that are going to be missing that they've generally been starting anyway. So the first game's the Providence Steamrollers at the Canton Bulldogs. Currently, Jake's predicted to win the game, but it's too hard to tell off of what's sitting here because there's probably about 10 players on one team there on a bye. So the Providence have been playing Geno Smith, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Boya Mafe, Bobby Wagner, Devin White, and Grant Delpit, all who will be on a bye this week. Now, there's one way to look at this. Well, there's a couple of ways to look at it, I guess. I think from a fantasy perspective, if you've got a bunch of guys early that you can wipe out their bye week early in the season and still come out, well, look, they're regardless of how this goes, they're at least the best record or equal best record in the league and can wipe out a chunk of bye weeks right away. Jakey's missing. That one's going to hurt him. Missing Justin Herbert this week. That's a big loss, especially considering how poorly Kenny Pickett and Desmond Ridder have been playing. It makes it they're really hard to start. Look, I just given all the buys, I don't think the brothers. I don't think Providence will come out, and I don't think they get a top 5 score this week. I would say I'd probably lean to Jake maybe getting a win here. They've just the bye weeks. That's a pretty heavy toll on buys there for Providence. And they're probably due a bad performance and bye weeks with possibly a bit of a letdown. I'll give Jakey the win here. I don't think it'll be a particularly high-scoring game because I don't know if Jake plans on starting 2 quarterbacks. It's probably pretty hard to start Desmond Ridder and Kenny Pickett, but he might go down that path. Good luck to him. He probably he's itching for a win, and he's a chance to come out of it possibly around 500 again for the end of going into next week. So definitely vulnerable this week, Providence. So I'd say this could be the one where they taste defeat. Next game, Packers against the Stapletons. Well, actually, hang on. I should. Davo's kiss of death. He's tipped Providence, so he's already got the kiss of death on the brothers. Green Bay Packers against the Staten Island Stapletons. Bye weeks don't seem to be particularly a big issue in this matchup, judging off what the two teams have started in the last couple of weeks. It's going to come down. This one's going to come down to whether whether Pat can start the right defensive players that fire for him this week. He hasn't had a good run with that this year. He's missed between two starters over 175 points in two different games. So it's extremely hard to cover that. And especially at a position where his team struggled for the most part for the season. His defensive ends have been very poor, the worst by a mile in the league. Yet 2 starts, and he damn near would have been near the top of the performers for the year. I haven't looked at matchups or anything like that. I'm happy with my team. So it's ticking along nicely at the moment. I've scored mid 400s to high 400s the last 3 weeks after a bad week 1. Honestly, I'll be just happy if it can just keep ticking over the way it is. But Paddy's got a couple of players there that can have the ability to have enormous games. I'm hoping Kirk Cousins can somewhat cancel out what Justin Jefferson does. I can't do anything about Tyreek Hill, but that's 60, 70 points every week without breaking a sweat pretty much between those 2 players. I just hope I can get a bit of production out of my defensive ends. Last week was bad. The entire D line was terrible. Should be a good close game. I actually think this will be one of the highest scoring games of the week. So there's a decent chance whoever doesn't win this has got a chance to pull off a top 5 win anyway. So we'll see how things go there. Now, I don't know if these two have actually got a rivalry or not, but God, they talk some shit against each other in the chat. The Buffalo All-Americans up against the Akron Pros. Dave and Joey. Far out. Can you two stop chewing each other's heads off? Joey's friends at Fantasy Sharks have got him sitting there with a pretty damn good score again this week. Considering the bye weeks and everything, it'd be it's the second highest predicted score of the week. I haven't. It doesn't look like he's submitted the lineup yet either because he's still got Jordan Brooks sitting in his lineup. Dave needs some production. Last week was terrible. I don't think he had outside of AJ Brown having a really good week. And like before that, AJ Brown had actually probably been. No, he'd been pretty good. I thought he'd had a bit of a disappointing season so far, but it was just the week 2 game where he didn't show up, and that was probably the game where I watched the most of him. So Davo needs some wide receivers to step up. They're really letting him down at the moment. And I remember after when I was doing the preseason projection things, that was the position that was going to let him down, parts of his offense, and his receivers looked really thin. I know he's currently trying to trade for a safety. I wouldn't even worry about safety, mate. You need to strengthen your wide receiver core, mate. Just try and throw a few darts, try and get some cheap weapons, see what happens. So you might get lucky. So we're only 4 weeks into the season. You might even find somebody who wants to offload somebody that's underperforming right now. Go and try and get them. Take a chance on that, mate, because you really need to get some production out of your wide receivers. Joey's team's been going along pretty good. Scored big last week after a low score the week before. He's moved to a double tight end setup. Both of them scoring well. Sam Laporta's having a great season for a rookie tight end. What's he got so far? So 242 yards through the first 4 games. He's on pace to hit that 1,000 yards if he can keep that pace going for the season, which is a huge season for a rookie tight end. And TJ Hawkinson's been fantastic. I'd probably lean to Joey. I think he probably keeps it going unless Davo can get a huge one out of his defense. I forgot to mention before, David actually tipped myself in the previous matchup, Staten Island. So he's given me the kiss of death, and he's giving himself the kiss of death in this game. So he's going to need a lot more luck, isn't he? The next game, Eagles and the Saints. Robbie up against Spirit. Robbie's been there or thereabouts pretty much every week, I think, either for a win or for a top 5 score. He'd really love Nick Bosa to put up a big game this week. I don't know if it's the game for him to do it, but who knows, buddy? He might actually have a big one for you. The bye weeks aren't really affecting either of these teams hugely, outside of one big out for Spirit, which is Myles Garrett. Outside of that, it's pretty much he can pretty much start last week's lineup and have no problem. So pretty much the same for Robbie. Outside of Noah Fant, everyone else that played last week is free of a bye. So I reckon this will be a pretty high-scoring, close game. I think both teams will probably crack 400. I think Robbie might get a win this week at the Spirit Dome. I missed that. I'm sorry if anyone else has gone to the effort of creating a stadium name and I've missed it, but we're at the Spirit Dome this week. Yeah, no, I'll give the nod to Robbie this week, and my compatriot has picked the Saints. So one of us will be right, unless there's a draw. It's never happened before. Who knows? Last game, Jared or the Miami Dolphins up against the Chicago Bears. Matt, let's see how much the boys are hurting these two teams. Jared is missing a few players that he has started the previous week, and they are probably key players. Both Kenneth Walker, Amari Cooper are probably guys he would prefer to have in this matchup. Whereas Matt is losing some very replaceable players. So, yeah, buddy, I'd love to see Jared bounce back and get a win, but honestly, until Joe Burrow actually starts to fire, and look, it's bye weeks. If a so-called nickname that I don't agree with at all kicks in, this might be the week where you finally get some production that you've been chasing for pretty much the entire season. Just judging on what you're missing, mate, I would be leaning towards a win for Matt. It's too hard to predict point-wise there. Both teams have players that can score big points. Matt might have a little sneaky one with Montez Sweat going up against Justin Fields, who has a habit of hanging on to the ball a little bit too long and creating some sacks for D linemen. So he could be up for a big game this week, and he'll be sweating on Micah Parsons. Everything I've read has said he's going to play. So I've got to imagine he will play. How effective is the other question? It's he's a guy that relies a lot on his explosiveness. And if for some reason he's not as explosive, that could cause an issue, but we'll see. Yeah. Either way, I'm probably leading to Chicago winning this game. They just look like a slightly better team in this matchup, I think. Anyway, boys, that's Oh, and my colleague has tipped Jared to grab a win, so I'll touch on his kiss of death again. So Providence, Buffalo, Staten Island, New Orleans, and Miami are his 5 tips for the week. I'm not sure how his tips went last week. I can't remember what he actually tipped, to be honest. So, that's it. I'm going to put the video up. I have got a voice recording version of it too. We'll see which one comes out looking pretty good, which one doesn't. I'll put the video up anyway. Hopefully it comes through all right. It's a first shot at trying to do it, and hopefully I can make some improvements as weeks go by. All right, all good, guys. Thanks. I'll catch